Q&A session. Well, I have decided that we're going to continue these live sessions for the foreseeable future, even when we go back to standard pool training. But I'm going to switch it around, and I'm going to make it Monday night Q&A, Wednesday night training, and then Friday night a video of some description through the a video of some description. So that's what I'm going to do. So Friday night is film night, Monday is questions, answers, and Wednesday training. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to stop on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but it means I can carry on doing these in the future. So tonight it's going to be a Q&A. So hopefully get some people online asking some questions. Okay, so I have had a question in earlier today, which has made me get some stuff ready for that. So as well. So we have got good news. The lakes are now open, or Raisbury's open. Obviously, we've been diving at Gildenborough for the last couple of weeks, but Raisbury's now open. And next Monday, so that's next Monday, we are going to run a open water course. Don't quite know how we're going to do it fully, but there are spaces on the open water course on the 22nd of June, Monday the 22nd of June at Raisbury. So if you haven't done the open water course, let us know and we can book you in. We're diving again tomorrow. That's all full tomorrow. And then we're diving again on Saturday. And then there's a couple of spaces on that, so let us know. Free Fest is, as you know, going ahead, and that's on the 17th of July. And there's a possibility of a Greek yacht trip at the end of July, but there's definitely one at the end of September. Now, at the end of September, we've got a yacht trip. Now, it looks like there's air bridges going to be put in place by the government, which means hopefully we won't have to go into quarantine when we go to Greece and back. But, stay tuned for that. Okay, so without further ado, Darren has asked, during my static training I am hitting a struggle phase which lasts for a short while, after which I can get relaxed again and can carry on holding for a significant amount of time. Is this normal? Absolutely 100% normal. Okay, next question. So there's various struggle phases. Okay, there's several of them. So you will find that there is a struggle phase at the end of the breath hold. Now, you've got to be aware of yourself and the times, and that you don't need a specific time, so you don't need to know, okay, it's 5:30, and this is the end of my breath hold. You don't need to know that specific, but you need to be aware that it's coming to the end of your breath hold, because if you just go by a time like 5:30, this is the end of my breath hold, or coming to the end of my breath hold. If you're having a bad day, that kind of sense you get at 5:30 might be at 5 minutes. Okay. Or if you're having a good day, it might be later. So you don't need to know specific times, but you do need to know where this struggle is happening. Is it happening at the end of the dive or at the beginning of the dive? If it's happening at the end of the dive, it is a true struggle phase, and contractions will be true contractions. Okay, and this is the point that you don't want to push through. Okay, this is a true struggle phase, and it's dangerous and really bad for your training to push into that. Okay. So it should be a challenge, but it shouldn't be stressful. Okay. Earlier on in the breath hold, usually about somewhere 30 seconds in, minute in, if you're a trained apneist, okay, if you've been training for a little while, so not when you first do it. When you first do it, you've got so many other things to learn about your body and your breath hold, so don't worry about the time at all. When you first start, as soon as you feel any sort of struggle or challenge, just stop the breath hold, because you've got a lot more to learn. But Darren's asking, and I know Darren's been training for a while, so when you've got a good idea of where your breath holds are at, you'll still have this initial, and it's not a true struggle, And they're not true contractions. And it's usually about 30 seconds a minute. And this is literally your body saying, hey, what are you doing? You know, what are you doing? And it's the same as if you go for a run. If you've been running for a while, you know that you can run around a park. You know you can do 5k plus. Okay, you know that. So you put your kit on and you go out for a run. You know you're going to go for a run for around a park or 10k or whatever you know. You know what you're going to do. But you start running and you feel really good. Everybody gets it. Oh yeah, I'm buzzing. But as an experienced runner, you won't go, yeah, I feel really good and run real fast. You'll keep your pace because you know 30 seconds in, a minute in, the body goes, oh, what are you doing? Oh, what are you doing? And it's a struggle phase with a run. Yeah. But if you're experienced, you know that. And as you get more experienced, it doesn't even register. It's still there, but it doesn't register because you just know it's what happens. And it's the same with a breath hold. So you will get this struggle phase, and obviously different people, different points when it comes in, but it'll be in the first half of the breath hold, and it is literally your body saying, "What are you doing?" And you carry on holding your breath, and it goes, "Oh, right, you're holding your breath," and it will start changing things around to allow you to work anaerobically. And that's when it gets easy. Body, bradycardia happens, vasoconstriction happens, blood shunt happens. All these things happen and allow you to do your breath hold. Okay? So, and as you become aware of it, at first it's like, well, this is a struggle, and you'll stop, and then you become aware of it, and you're okay. You can move through it, and eventually, you know it's coming. So it's like, okay, 30 seconds in, I'm going to get this struggle. A minute, I'm going to get this struggle. That's fine, and you prepare for it mentally. When it comes, it's no shock, so it lessens it. So you should be able to kind of smooth it out. Okay. Now we really want this adaptation phase. In fact, I saw a really good graph actually. In fact, when I say I saw it, I drew it based on these different points. So it was the anatomy of a breath hold. That's what I called it. I'm going to look it up, see if I've got it deep in my archives. The anatomy of a breath hold. So you start your breath hold and you get what we called at the time John's greenhouse, which is kind of the lightheaded, buzzy feeling. Then you had the first kind of, I can't even remember what we called it, but what you're talking about, the kind of first kind of initial struggle, and then the adaptation phase, and then the next phase, and the next phase, and the next phase. So you will get it, and you kind of want to smooth this out. Same with John's greenhouse, the kind of buzzy feeling you get, the kind of not euphoric, but kind of lovely feeling you get sometimes when you're really into a session and you do a nice breath hold. And you want to smooth that out and make it last as long as possible. And then you get the first acknowledgement adaptation phase, and then it kind of carries on. Okay, so it is normal, yeah. Be aware of it. Take some notes about it. Again, not time, but just what it is and what happened, and how good your hold was, and how strong it was. How prepared for it you were, how strong it was, or how long it lasted. Make those kind of connections. Okay, so Kiri asks, when would be a good time to upgrade to a glide monofin, as I don't go to Wednesday sessions? Is this a waste? Okay, so glide monofins. There are several things you need to know about glide monofins. 3 things you need to know about glide monofins. Okay. 4 things. Okay, the first is glide is a trade name of Bogdan at Waterways. He invented them, I believe. He definitely took if he didn't invent them, he took the very rudimentary ideas of them and developed them further. And so that was, maybe 10 years ago or so. Well, maybe a bit longer than that. Yeah, definitely a bit longer than that. And it's on the edge of the fin. There's a hyperbolic shape which makes it cut through the water. The feet are at a slight angle, makes it easy to use, but the hyperbolic shape to it makes it literally glide through the water. It almost sucks through the water. If you just put one in the water and just push it, acts like a wing. It just okay. So That's what they are. That's the first thing you need to know. And pretty much everybody else has everybody else definitely has copied his ideas and his designs. So if you get the Motionov, it's a copy of his latest version of it. Okay, all the things he's put into it, the rubber he used because he got the rubber wrong the first few times, the reinforcement between the foot pockets, the angles, everything else. Okay, doesn't mean to say the Molchanov's not as good as his. Okay, I'm not saying that at all, but that's where it kind of stems from. That's the evolution of it. Okay, so that's what a glide monofin is. The other things you need to know is A, they are very expensive. You need to know that. B, they make your swims a lot easier. And C, they literally like erase 80% of your bad technique. Okay, they just like erase it. Okay. So, number one, have you got a lot of money? Okay, we're talking 400 quid here for a monofin, which is a lot of money. And if you don't use monofin too often, then 400 quid is an awful lot of money. If you do a vast quantity of monofining, then 400 quid's not as much money. So number two, it makes your dives easier. Okay, so why are you finning? Why are you monofinning? So it will make your swims longer. Okay, but you can only get that advantage once. Okay? So if you're just starting out, don't buy a glide monofin, because when you get to a point where you're going to your first competition, or there's something you want to do, a filming job you want to do, get your glide then, and then it'll just make all the stuff you've been trying to do, or you've been doing, all the stuff you've been doing, it'll just make it easier. But you can only get that advantage once. Okay, so why are you even considering buying it? That's your first question. Okay. Now, if you just want a toy and you've got lots of money, go ahead, buy it. They're beautiful things and they work so well. But you can only get the advantage once. The third thing is, it will, like I say, erase your bad technique. Well, erase is the wrong word. It will significantly reduce the effects of your bad techniques. You still got your bad techniques. It's still you. But smoothing them over will be good if you've got a filming job. You'll make your technique look a lot smoother and a lot less jagged. You'll be able to keep a straight line easier. Okay? But it doesn't make you any better. So I always suggest to everybody get a training monofin, which is really hard to control, reasonably cheap, and hard work compared to a glide. And train that. Use your glide, enjoy it. Go back to the training fin, train. So it's not a waste of money. It depends entirely where you're using it. Yes, Wednesdays you get a lot more. You get a lot more opportunities to use it if you go on a Wednesday, but it's up to you. So that's So it's not a waste. You just get more opportunities on Wednesday, but it depends where you're going to use it. Julian, I like a glass of wine when I'm on holiday, but what's the rule on drinking and diving? Should I avoid it altogether the night before I dive? Okay. Big question. Okay, it entirely depends on why you're diving. Okay, if you're on a holiday, you're there for fun and you like a glass of wine. If I said to you, no, you can't have a glass of wine, is it going to make you go, oh, I'm not enjoying the holiday as much? If it is, then have a glass of wine. Okay, it thins the blood. So, which is, I personally, and this is no medical background at all, if you've got ears a little bit blocked up, maybe you've bruised them slightly, I personally think a bit of red wine, especially red wine, will kind of help them kind of the swelling go down a little bit. So I suggest red wine. If you, it's got loads of antioxidants in it, so that's actually quite good for you. When I say loads, it's got some. It's not like having, vegetables. But the other thing is, it actually aids recovery. Okay, alcohol aids recovery. A small amount of alcohol aids the body's recovery. I presume, and this is just a presumption, because it's a toxin, your body reacts to it by going, "Oh, there's a toxin in the body. I've got to get rid of it," and it steps up its toxin removal systems. Which, if you've got a bruise, if you've got an injury, the body then is stepped up on its. I'm struggling for a word tonight. Rejuvenation. Okay, so it steps up, so you're actually recover better. So if you've had a hard session, a glass of red wine can help afterwards. So on the downside, it's a toxin. So if you've been training and beautiful, eating well, sleeping well, etc., up to a point, and then you have some alcohol, the body will react to that some alcohol in a way of it's a toxin. So it will detract from your ability the next day to dive. If you have a lot of alcohol, it will detract. Your body has to do a lot of work to get rid of the toxin, so it will detract from the dive a lot the day after. Okay? So it all depends on where you're at, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. Hopefully that's a good answer. Okay. So somebody asked me a question today about torches. Okay, so knives and torches. So we'll start with knives. Okay, so every senior should, in no tanks, should have a knife. Okay, you should have a knife on your belt. I personally suggest you have hang on a sec. Okay, so thanks, Jessica. Not. Okay, so knives. Every senior should have a knife on them. Okay, just in case. I personally suggest you go for a line cutter, because that's where the danger's going to be. And this is the best line cutter in the world. Okay, it's a Hollis. It's titanium. It's got a little kind of screw undoing tool in the middle of it. It's also got a serrated edge, so you can cut through thick ropes. But it has that hook at the end, which is what you want to kind of cut through. Catches and cuts through fishing line. So you should have one of these. This one is super expensive. It's about 85 quid, but I have seen them go. I saw them come online for like 20 quid, so I bought a couple of them. But you can buy standard plastic ones. You can buy for like 20 quid. They're quite cheap. But a line cutter is what you want. You're not allowed knives in Egypt, but you're allowed line cutters. Okay. Other people go for scissors, but they're really good, but I tend to find they're quite big. So just taking them every single dive is a little bit of a hassle. But a line cutter like that, it's on my weight belt. It stays on my weight belt. In fact, I used it today. I actually found some fishing line that I was kind of tidying up, and I cut it with my line cutter. Okay, so everybody can buy a line cutter, and everybody can have one on their belt. Okay, so there's no excuse not to have one. They're 20 quid, buy one, have a knife. Okay, we call it a knife, have a line cutter. They also asked about torches. Okay, so there are loads of torches out there, and if you're going to Raisbury this week, there's some boats you might want to have a poke around with a torch. You can buy a cheap, LED torch, as long as it's waterproof. If you're just having a nose around in a dark boat in Raisbury, anyone will do. You can buy them for like 50 quid or so, 30 quid. As soon as you are relying on your torch, it's responsible of yourself to buy a good quality torch. Okay, so we recommend Anchor dive lights, okay, and they've got two basically that if you come to me and say I want to buy a torch, I will get you an Anchor dive torch. So you have this torch here, which is about 650 watts, and it's really quite cool because it takes, they call it a backup torch because it takes a little 3 AAA batteries. Okay, so you chuck it in your dive bag anywhere in the world, you're going to get batteries for it. Okay, it doesn't recharge. They do a recharging thing, but it's just not worth it. And they're about 100 quid. Okay, slightly less, I think. Maybe they're 80 quid or something. But super, it's built to their same build quality, bomb proof, not particularly narrow beam, but a really nice torch. So this is your starting point. Runs on AAA batteries, and you're good to go. The AAA batteries tend to last a bit longer. Like when you're not using them, just leave it in your bag, undo it a little bit to make sure they're not being used, and they last quite a long time. The torch that I really suggest people get if they're serious. As soon as you start going in caves, you need to spend some money on a decent torch. As soon as you're doing night dives on a regularish basis, you need to buy a decent torch. And this one is the one that we suggest. So it's 1 kilowatt. Is that a watt? No, 1,000 watts. 1,000 lumens, not 1,000 watts. You idiot. 1,000 lumens. Okay. They do this in a spot. So they do it. It's called the Series 1K, and they do it in a spot, or they do it in a flood. Suggest you buy a spot, and little things. It's rechargeable. Little things like the torch. I don't know if you can see there. It went blue. Blue means it's fully charged. Green is good to go, and it went red because the battery's dead. Okay, so usually I've got this out specially because I knew the battery was kind of dead. And it goes through them throughout the dive. Whenever you turn it on, it goes blue, and then it kind of finds its level. So you can tell how live your battery is. It also got, let me turn it on. It's got settings, so low, bright, medium, and bright. And there is a way of pressing the button where you can get it to flash. I don't know how to do that. It's not my torch. Okay, so that's it. And they're about 150 quid or something. But amazing torch. You can get shots like oh no, my photo disappeared. I put up a brilliant photo earlier and it's gone. I personally use this bad boy, and it's called the Series 189. All singing, all dancing. I mean, I could go in for hours about how awesome this torch is. It's a floodlight. Okay, so you can't see this, but this massive floodlight. It with settings. You can change the color of it to a different type of floodlight. You can change it. It does red. So infrared, it does ultraviolet, and it does a spot, but still with the light color here, telling you how dead or how good the battery is. Okay, all the settings in the world you could ever want. It's got a strobe sensor on it, so if you're a photographer and your strobe goes off, this cuts this. It does loads of stuff, flashes and whatever. But that's what I use on a handle, so I can do stuff when my hands are free, and then I've got my torch. So my hands are free. I got my torch when I need it. I film with this, I safety with this, I cave dive with this, I do everything with this. This goes with me everywhere. Okay, it's a lot of money. That's it, really. That's my answer to torches. Spend however much money you feel is necessary, depending on what kind of diving you're doing. Okay, so I've got time for one more question. So, Julian, when descending on a dive, I know you should be smooth, controlled, and not rushed. But what about the ascent? Is it best to go slow or should you go fast? Okay. Okay, so the word rush is the crux of this question. So when you're descending on a dive, you should be smooth, controlled, and not rushed. You should be smooth because any erratic movement you make is a waste of energy. And underwater, water being so dense compared to air, any movement you make is extra effort. Okay, so you want to be smooth because you don't want to waste effort. You also want to be smooth because you should be knowing exactly what you're doing next, what you're doing next, what you're doing next. Thus, it's controlled, and not rushed, which is kind of where the interpretation comes. I like sleds. I like going fast. I will go down on a sled as fast as you can weight it. I will go. I love it. I just love going fast. I like hitting the glide fast. I like going on a sled fast. I love it. All right. But it's not rushed. It's the speed I like going. And I know I can equalize that speed, so it's not rushed. You see, so it's fast, but it's not rushed. On the ascent, is it best to go slow or should you go faster? See, now that's a different question to the rushed bit. So, if you are super deep, you need to get out of that super deep area as fast as you can. Okay? So, but you don't want to be wasting energy. So, for instance, if you've got a sled, you don't want to just open the sled a little bit and just kind of leave the bottom slowly if you're super deep. You want to put a decent wedge of air in there and get away from the super deep fast. Okay? You don't want to extend the amount of time you're at depth for no reason. Okay? But you don't want to waste energy. So if you've not got a sled, you want to get away from the deep section of your dive. If we're talking, deep past 40 meters, something like that, past 30 meters, you want to get past a deep part of the dive where you've done your filming, you've done whatever you're going to do at the depth, and you're coming back. There's no point in hanging around. Okay, the way I say is come back home. Okay, you could do dive, you think about your dive on the way down, you do whatever you're going to do at the bottom, and then you come back home. You're not hanging around, but you're not rushing, because that's just a waste of energy. So you want to start coming up at a decent pace. Again, depends on you, depends on what the dive is. Okay. And then in the second half, or the middle section, you're going to slow down, and in this top section, you're going to allow the buoyancy to help you up. Okay, but you're never going to go slow. So in that last section, it's super important you don't kind of wave to your buddy or kind of hang around or stop and have a look. You're on your way home. Okay, you've done your dive, you're on your way home. So you ignore everything else. So you never go slow. Never go slow. Okay? But you don't rush on the way back. So you will go slightly faster at the first section as you're coming up, and then you'll slow down, but you won't actually go slow, if that makes sense. Okay? You're not hanging around. You're just coming back. All right? And this is a general rule. It's safe for you. It keeps safety for you because you don't want to be kind of extending your bottom time for any longer than you need. But it's also good for your buddies. They feel your turn. Oh, they're coming home. So they've got a rough idea how long it's going to be for you to come up. It's really quite rude to say, right, I'm coming back. Oh, maybe I'm not. Oh, look, I'm going to look over there. Oh, look, I'm going to go over there. That's kind of rude to your safety divers. Yeah, because they're expecting you to be somewhere and you're not. Okay? So once you go, right, I'm coming back, you go back. Okay? It was interesting. Brett LeMasters, which I believe was Oh, it was no, it wasn't actually. But I was going to say I thought it was the last deep constant weight record with Monofins, but it was one of the last ones. It was in the 80 meters range before they kind of reinstated it, and he it was I can't remember who his coach was, but their idea was to get back as quick as possible, and you can find the videos of it, and it's really interesting that technique's kind of gone now. It was Kurt Crack. It was Kurt Crack who was his coach. So they went down. Glide and sink wasn't really that a bigger thing, but he stopped, but he didn't kind of hit the glide and sink, so he kind of went down, grabbed a tag, and he finned like you don't, but just like, and whoa! You're watching back the videos now. It's a shock to see how fast he was finning, crazy speed finning to get him back, because they were worried about the depth, the time at depth, which now we're not. We kind of moved past that kind of idea. But there was a point in the early noughties where people were turning and coming back like so crazy. Personally, I can't imagine how knackered you'd be from that, and the burn you'd get from that was fairly dramatic. But obviously, efficiency moved over to the Monofins for efficiency as well. Anyway, so that's carried me way over my 30 minutes. Join us again on Wednesday. We have got a session in the park. If it's raining, I'll do a session online. But if it's not raining, we'll be in Richmond Park at 7:30 for the dry session. Have fun for those guys are doing the session down in Brighton tomorrow. And I'll see you on Wednesday. Unless you're coming to the lake tomorrow, where I'll see you at the lake. Ciao, ciao.